Let's be real. Starting, running, and scaling a coaching business can feel exhausting. I mean, you've got the marketing, the hustling, the selling, all that stuff you didn't realize you would need to master when you decided to start a coaching business. For anything like me, you started your coaching business to change the world, to improve the lives of others while improving your own. Well, the truth is, running a business doesn't have to be as hard as many of us have made it out to seem. And you don't even have to do all that hustling stuff if you don't want to. You really can get into flow, into your zone of genius, and get back to the work you were sent here to do. But you have to ask for help. You have to be willing to work in new ways. You have to be willing to open up your mind to mentors who might be doing it differently than you've ever considered. And you have to be willing to actually implement new ways of thinking and running your business. If you're up for that, stay tuned. I'm Hannah Hermanson, your certified coach, international speaker, author, and yes, the founder of Dream Life is Real Life and the host of this show. And I've been able to help hundreds of coaches build, scale, and enjoy their online businesses. Essentially, make their dream life their real life. And if you'd like help improving your business life and get your coaching business to the next level, we might be able to help you. Head on over to dreamlifeisreallife.com/show to get all the resources and episodes that we talk about in this community. You can join our Facebook community, you can find me on Instagram, but more importantly, if you're really ready to integrate what you learn here today and on other episodes, then you'll be able to set up a complimentary 10-minute chat with my team. Again, at dreamlifeisreallife.com/show, no strings attached. We love getting to know you and seeing what are the right next moves for you. But now let's get on to the show. In this podcast, you'll find the real people, concrete tactics, and weekly motivation and inspiration to make your dream life and business real. I started this podcast to bring you the role models that I never had. We talk to successful entrepreneurs, freedom seekers, business owners, and people living life on their own terms. To be a true leader, to create the legacy you desire, and to live in alignment, you need a tribe lifting you up. And I've made it my mission to be your tribe, to bring them to your ears at least, because after all, we are all in this together. Now, let's cue the music. Everyone, we are in for a sweet treat today, literally, because we are hanging out with my good friend and a coaching client, Tavia. Tavia is the founder of Sweet Life Coaching. She is a functional, nutritional health coach, and she gets to the root cause of why you're not getting better. Tavia has she was led here by her own personal battle with Lyme's disease. After going undiagnosed for 10 years, Tavia knew that the medical profession needed some help. So her passion to get well became her purpose, and her mess of her own health soon became her message that she is now sharing and helping others navigate today. She's a certified health and life coach and also has degrees in communications and sociology and psychology. She is a business entrepreneur as well as a real estate broker, wife, dog mom, and has a passion for life in general. When she's not coaching, you can find her dancing, swimming, traveling, and of course, watching football. So much in common, you and I.
Yes.
And I'm so excited that you're here today because your story has always inspired me. And, we mentioned this a little bit around you channeling your own challenges into your work now. So if you wouldn't mind sharing with us a little bit more of that story. I mean, a decade of being undiagnosed before finding your own health and being able to help others. So talk to us a little bit more about the journey to becoming a health coach for you.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. And I love when you and I get to talk, and talk about anything and everything. And you actually don't know a lot of my story. So this might be a good treat for you. So I'll take you back in time about 10 years ago. Well, actually it's been longer than that now because I got diagnosed in 2015, the fall of 2015 with Lyme disease. Prior to that, 10 years prior to that, I started having tummy issues, migraines, headaches, joint pain. I was always getting sick. I just was generally unwell. I kept going to the doctors and they'd say, oh, you have fibromyalgia. I went to Seattle. They said I have fibromyalgia. They said you had rheumatoid arthritis. They said I had possibly lupus. They said I had possibly MS. They didn't know what was wrong with me. I was basically a puzzle. And I kept going back to doctors and different rheumatologists and, different doctors and test after test after test. And basically they would always say, you're fine. We can't find anything. So fast forward, and I just knew deep down inside something wasn't right, and I was, listening to my body. And then basically fast forward to about 2015 and I had some other tests done and I actually saw Avril Lavigne, the singer. If you know her.
Was she with her skater boy? Oh yeah. Complicated skater boy. I used to take voice lessons. I literally had voice lessons and I asked my teacher if we could do Avril Lavigne songs. And she ordered online before it was even a thing, Avril Lavigne music books. So I know Avril Lavigne.
Yeah. I've seen her come. Anyways, but did you know she has Lyme disease? And she was on the Today Show. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I saw her and I watched the replay and I was like, that's me. I was like, I'm like her. And so I went back to my doctor, who was actually an environmental doctor, like a holistic type doctor I was seeing. And I said, look, I'm like, I've been coming to you, we've been fighting with immune stuff. It was immune related stuff. And I kept being sick. I said, have we done a Lyme test? And he's like, I'm sure we have, and that's I want to point that out. A lot of people that come to me say, oh, I'm sure my doctors test me for that. Guys, no, it's not. It's not an average test. I want to tell the listeners out there, it's not the average test. You have to ask for it. It's a specific test. So anyways, fast forward to that. So we got me tested. He's like, well, let's do a Lyme test. 3 weeks later, he calls me on my birthday. Happy birthday. He was like, well, I got some good news and bad news. The good news is we finally got a diagnosis. The bad news is that it's Lyme disease. And I'm like, okay, where do we start there?
Yeah. Where do you go from there? Right. It's like the gift of clarity.
Right.
But when you have clarity, then you got to take some action.
Right. So it was bittersweet. So from there, my journey began. And from there, I started treatment. I did the traditional route that I did both Eastern and Western medicine. I was very, very sick going through the treatments. I went about 6 months through and I was like, I was done. I was so sick, Hannah. I was so sick. And the treatments made it worse. And the second part of this is that, so a friend of a friend told me about this clinic in Germany named the St. George Clinic. And again, if the viewers are out there wondering, it's called St. George Clinic and it's in Bad Abilene, Germany. And they were having good success with Lyme people or Lyme treatment. So I looked into it and I was like, sign me up. I'm like, I can't be sick. I'm not a sick person. I don't want to be sick for the rest of my life. So my husband and I hightailed it to Germany in May of 2016. And I spent 2 weeks in a German hospital, put my life on the line. It was basically, I had what was called hypothermia treatment and what that is they heat your body up like a self-induced fever. And the premise is to kill off the bugs, kill off the bacteria.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I went through that, came back home. And ever since then, I see a doctor in Seattle for my post-operative care. And I've been on the road to recovery since then. It's taken its toll. It's taken its time. It's taken money. It's not been an easy road whatsoever. But I have gotten better.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think, we talk about this on the show and, in coaching a lot of times, and you mentioned it earlier that when you can harness challenges and make them be your strength, right? Like transform heartbreak into purpose. I think this is what's so magnetic about you is that people, whether it's Lyme disease or something else, they can see that your resiliency and your committedness, like you said, you put your life on the line because you wanted to live. You wanted to get back to being yourself. And I think whether you're sick or you're just struggling in your business, being willing to bet on yourself and show up and continue doing the work and experiment and not take, we don't know, or it might not work for an answer is really inspiring and it helps you be a really great coach too.
Thank you. Yeah. And the second part of that, so piggybacking what you said is, I remember laying there in bed and I was telling my husband, I was like, there's something better I'm supposed to be doing with this. Like, there's a reason why I got this. I had calling. And I remember that day I was in bed and I was crying. I was in pain. I was not feeling good. But I was mad. I was just like, this is not me. This is not who's going to define my life or define who I am. And I remember taking that leap of faith, and I was getting on the internet and getting on my phone and I was scrolling, and I was like, and I was actually thinking I wanted to go back to med school and be a doctor and be a naturopathic doctor. But with my health still not tip top shape, I was like, I don't know if I can put all that pressure on me,
Mm-hmm.
So here comes along some ad for a health coach institute. And I was like, health coach. And I read more up on it and I was like, I can do that. I can do that. And what made sense to me with this part was how I felt that being a health coach bridges that gap between you going to the doctor and getting diagnoses, and then that point of going home and feeling lost and what next, right? And so that's where I felt needed to be with that gap in medicine, that gap in the healthcare industry where it needed to be bridged. And so that's why I became the health coach, because I felt like for 10 years, right, I went undiagnosed, and they're telling me this, tell me that, da, 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 da. I had someone come along and said, have you ever looked at this? Have you ever done this lab? Have you ever thought this way or thought outside the box, which is what I do? I wouldn't have gone on undiagnosed for 10 years and had 10 years of damage.
Right. Well, and this is the other piece that sets you apart from any other health coach. Your huge heart. Okay. And we talked about how you have really broken the rules when it comes to both like how you health coach, but also how you run your business. And the thing that differentiates lasting coaches from the ones who like start an Instagram account and then they're done in 18 months because it was too hard or whatever, is that you're coming from this place of like, I need to solve this problem. It's not just about me, Tavia, like getting money in the door or like becoming great, whatever. It's about the fact that you've seen a massive problem that you can't go to sleep at night knowing exists and not being ready to fix it. And that's the motivation. That's the energy that helps coaches, do this for decades and not just for a few months. Would you feel like that fire keeps you going?
100%. It's just like, I had a gal come to me last week. Here's a perfect example, if I may bring this up. And she was diagnosed with celiac. Celiac is a gluten allergy, right? It's very serious. It's very severe. But she's like, I'm lost. And she called me and she's like, I got this. And they're telling me just get off the gluten. And she's like, I don't know where to start. And what does that mean? Well, long story short, I did a little bit more digging, if you will, because I was like, I think there's more to this picture than just she's allergic to gluten, right? My gut was telling me there's something else going on because she's other conditions or other things were popping up. So I ran the specific test that I call an organic oat test or organic acids test. I do a lot of my patients. And lo and behold, some things came back that made more sense to me and made more sense why she was feeling the other things that were coming up. And those are the things that your basic doctor, MD, is not going, Western medicine is not going to, is not going to, bring up. And that's where I am kind of the little gold digger, if you will. And I dig a little bit deeper to find that out. And that's what it took for me. That's what it took for me to get well. It was digging deep and never giving up, never surrendering to, it's just fibromyalgia. Well, what's fibromyalgia? It's widespread pain.
Yeah. These types of things are not the things they teach you in coaching certification.
No, they don't.
They teach you general, like how to do the thing, right?
Right.
And so to set yourself apart and be this like excellent, outstanding coach, just like Tavia, you have to find the unique problem and position yourself as the solution. Because if you just say, I'm a health coach, I'll help you lose weight, I'll help you do this. We've talked to other people on the show, like, Gavin saw this problem with personal trainers, like exchanging time for money on the gym floor, and their clients weren't getting results. And he's worked tirelessly for years to figure out how to get personal trainers' clients better results. And Lindsay too, who we've had on the show, who, as a nutritionist could just be a nutritionist, but then she's like, pulled like helping grandpas mash up their food and like helping moms figure out pregnancy, but she saw a problem in the female athlete world. And so now she helps female athletes and is an expert in that. And same thing with you here. I just want to highlight this and give listeners examples because I know how easy it is to look at what's working in the coaching industry right now. What's everyone else doing? And then you just try to copy it. But to be someone who stands out, you have to be not a copier, but a creator and hone in your specific coaching niche and what makes you different. And Tavia has done that with her own life experience, as so many others have too.
Thank you. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely 100%. And that was, and again, that's awesome what you said, because I want to piggyback on that too, because when I became a health coach, I was learning and I went through the schooling and I was meeting all these other coaches and I'm like, I don't want to do fitness. I'm like, is that all I can do? Like I was kind of thrown back, like, okay, I'm going into health coaching. I don't want to just be weight loss. Like that's not who I am. My coaching is coaching people, chronic illness, don't know what the heck's going on with them, coaching them through the mental aspects too. That's the whole other side of this is the mental anguish, that mental anger, frustrations that you have when you are diagnosed with something. And that's the secondary part of what I do. And that's the life coaching piece that I got certified in, if you will. So, it comes full circle, right? And so, yeah.
And you can, that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. You can paint whatever sign outside of your business that you want, right? You don't just have to say health coach and hope that randoms find you, but you can find the root cause and help people with chronic illness who haven't found answers, right? It's that niching thing that everyone wants to talk about, but here's a real life example of it. So some of the other, you're a rebel like me in some ways because you also break the rules when it comes to like running your business. Not that it's anything in a great way, right? Nothing that's going to have like the IRS on your door. No, nothing like that. But you've broken some of the mold. Same thing of like, they tell you this is the cookie cutter, how you get coaching clients or how you do this. And you've found ways that work for you, what we call feel good marketing. So I'd love to hear about, similar to maybe with your coaching certification, how you approach, starting to get clients and maybe some of the frustrations you might have faced when it came to being told how you're supposed to market this.
Yeah. So, when you get into coaching, they really don't tell you the marketing aspect of things. I'm going to be honest. A lot of that is, I would say for me, from my real estate background, I learned, I applied some of those techniques, some of those ways into my coaching. I think it's really, really helped me. Both my parents were real estate agents. And so I grew up in the real estate business and kind of got thrown into it. And one of the things I'll never forget my mom taught me was referrals and treating people as you would want to be treated. That was one thing my parents taught me. And so, that aspect alone, just treating people well and getting to know people, first of all, networking, but asking for referrals was a big thing. When I started my coaching, I hadn't even graduated yet. I remember this. And one of my friends, I was just talking about me getting coaching. And one of my high school friends, we were on the dance team together. I like to dance. And she reached out to me. She's like, would you coach me? And I'm like, sure. I'm not even finished my certification yet, but I coached her. And from there, it was kind of funny. It kind of just catapulted. And then she told someone else and then So, and I do live in a town where I grew up in. I moved back here many years ago, 10 years ago. And then, so I do have a lot of network of people. But the networking, I'm going to say first and foremost, has been the biggest thing for me. This is the most ancient form of marketing.
Yeah. And we all like to think it's some sexy thing like a hashtag or a funnel or a billboard that's going to bring us people. But for millennia, people have gotten people into their business, into their blacksmith, into their shoemaking business by people knowing that they have a business. Relationships equal revenue. And I think whether you grew up in your hometown or not, or you're still in your hometown or not, and you have a big network in your backyard, it doesn't matter anymore because Tavia, you have massive engagement on your Facebook too, of just like people know what you do. You're top of mind. So when someone is struggling, they can say, oh, I happen to know someone. And it's not the immediate, you had some immediate feedback and it's great proof of concept, but relationship building and networking and making sure people know what you do is so important. And so many coaches think that they just have to hashtag all day when maybe you should be talking to people, real people, about what you do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, totally. And, that's been, absolutely. It's been a big, I'll say, a good blessing for me too. And in the networking, of that too. And then, but in January, just for example, I get to sign on 5 new clients. I didn't know any of them, and they all came from Google.
Yep.
They just Googled me, and they were looking for a health and life coach. And so obviously they like something about me that I said out there in the cyber world or whatever. So, those are great. And I've met some amazing, fabulous people that way. I have done some lead generation stuff, and I'll be honest, some of them haven't been so successful, and so that's why I kind of did break the rules, or I will say, even not even breaking the rules, I'm sticking to what I know works. And what I know works for any business, and what has worked for me 16 years in the real estate business, has been relationships, building rapport with people. People need people, right? Especially in the time of pandemic. We need people, we need relationships, we need people with hearts. We need people that care. And just last night, another one of my girlfriends is so funny. She reached out to me in Facebook Messenger and was like, "Hey, I got this going on. I won't talk about what her medically stuff she's going on, but she's like, what do you think about this?" And I said, "Let's talk tomorrow." So
yes, exactly. I mean, you are just like the star student here, because this is what I am all about. And the biggest question I ask new people coming in is like, so where have you gotten clients from before? What's working? Right. And so in January, we had the goal of 5 clients, and they came from, the Google search. And it's like, oh, well, that wasn't what I thought was going to happen. Or, oh, I didn't. It's like, but it's working. So keep it going. Right. And again, it's never like some big sexy thing that, it doesn't have to be sexy to get you results. And so I want listeners to be thinking for themselves too, what's worked in the past? Where have your clients come from? I know a lot. I've met people traveling that have become clients. So how can I foster or bring more of that into my brand? And like you said, Tavia, communicate on your website, in your content. When they come and find you, do they know that you would be like a travel friend and like a girlfriend? And present those qualities of yourself that have gotten you clients in the past, because it works.
Right. Another thing that I was thinking too was the relatability is key, relations and relatability in general. Like the people that come to me, I can relate to them, boom, like probably within the first couple sentences, because their story is similar to mine in some way or some fashion. And so for other coaches out there, I want to say, that relatability factor is a big thing. If you're doing fitness, if you're going down the health coaching field and you're like, oh, they're telling you to do fitness, and you've never even walked into a gym before, or that's not your thing, why are you doing fitness? And that's how I kind of felt in the beginning. I'm like, I was kind of leaning towards fitness, and I'm like, and I've been a dancer and I've been in gyms before, and I work out and stuff like that, but it wasn't my thing. My thing is I want to get people from out of their HE double hockey sticks, back into real life and get them feeling well. And when someone else isn't listening, I want to be the one that's listening and saying, this is what you got going on, and this is how we're going to get there.
Yes. And we've said this before here, but intimacy beats authority. So Tavia has the experiences of her client. So she can say, yep, I know exactly what that's like. She can post content to speak exactly to where she is, because she can think back to her past self. But for all of us as coaches, we should be able to intimately understand where our clients are and where they want to go. And I've said this before, but if you're not doing it yet, do the dream life and real life exercise, where on one side of the paper, you write out what are their actual dreams. Like for Tavia, it was to just like get out of bed. Right? It's those true things that they want right now, that what is their dream in their words? What are they actually saying to their husband right now? And then on the other side of the paper, know what their real life is, what their HE double hockey sticks, what the pain points are, how much weight they've lost, what their temperature is, what else they're Googling and isn't working for them. Like that's the way that what Tavia is saying, you build that relatability. by knowing their problems and their dreams so well that you make that instant connection. And it doesn't matter how many followers you have, it doesn't matter how many certifications you have. They just want to know that you get them. You can help them.
Totally. And it's funny, like a lot of my clients become my friends. It's funny. I don't know. I just, that's me too. I have a big heart and, whatnot, but and
we need to be thinking of them like that. We're not looking out on the street for people with dollar bill signs on their forehead. No. We're looking for people we'd love to help. So it makes sense they become friends because they're like real people. And I think we forget that too as coaches. We try to be so professional and smart that there are little students when it's like real people, real relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. 100%.
Amazing. So, thinking about breaking the rules, if there's a coach listening to this right now and they're like, oh my gosh, I totally am going down the wrong path. I totally am doing marketing that I don't think is going to work for me. What advice do you have for someone listening who is like, maybe I need to break some rules or, kind of step out of the traditional boxes? What advice would you give them?
I would say, look back to why you wanted to become a coach in the first place. And what is your why? My mess became my message, like I said. And I stole that from another coach, by the way. I love that phrase.
We're all borrowing phrases. Nothing is brand new.
I love that. My mess became my message, right? Yeah. And so what is your message that you want to prevail or demonstrate to, people? And what is it? And who do you want to, it's almost like for me, it's like, what is your legacy? Like, what do you want to leave these imprints when you leave this world? What is it that these steps, these prints, what do you want to leave? And for me, it's like, I want to leave prints on people's hearts and say, she got me out of here to there. And, I've diagnosed many people with, I take that back, not diagnosed. I can't diagnose technically, but I've got them a diagnosis with their doctor because of the testing that I've done. And I've got them out of their hell. And so you need to dig deep inside and find out, where do you want to impact people's lives? Where is your why? And I think if it's not fitness, if it's not just working out a gym and just trying to help people lose weight, then why are you, what's your reason? What is it? Everybody that I've learned, I will say, when I've met in coaching, it seems like everybody has a story. Yeah. And go with your story. And it'll lead you to the right path. And that's one thing that I'm so, so gracious and grateful that I did,
100%. It was that same exact question from my therapist 10 years ago. She said, Hannah, how do you want to be remembered? That I was like, well, not the eating disorder cycle I'm in right now. I guess that was a powerful question. And I think that's amazing advice for anyone who's maybe caught up in the weeds of how to do it or what's going to work. Going back to, well, what's the legacy and how do you want to show up in your coaching program and in your marketing? Be proud of it.
Totally. 100%. If you're not doing your passion, if you're not doing what feels in alignment, then you're not doing the right thing, and it takes a while. I'm going to say this too. When I first started my coaching, it took me a while, even though I knew where I wanted to be, it took me a while to get there because there were still some outside forces. They're still like, oh, maybe I should do this. And then everybody's like, find your niche and niche down. And I'm like, it was stressing out. And I'm like, no, I just want to be me, and that's what I want to say too. Be you, just be who you want to be. And don't let the outside forces interfere with that.
And everything we talked about today is that like your story, your relatability is magnetic and can call in clients, ideal clients that you even want to like hang out with. So yeah. Tavia, where can people learn more about you and continue this conversation?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I have a website, obviously, and you can book a call with me. You can check me out, and it's sweetcoachtavia.com. Sweetcoachtavia.com. That's my page, and it will take you to whatever resources you want to go, and you can check me out there.
Thank you, dear. So great to have you share on here. I appreciate you so much. And listeners, I'll be back next week with another inspiring guest that will help you make your dream life your real life. That's
That's right, friends. That'll do it for our show today. But remember, if you're really ready to implement and take these ideas into action, then hop on over to dreamlifeisreallife.com/show, and you can access all of the resources we talked about, and more importantly, set up a complimentary 10-minute phone call with my team so that we can help you get clarity and some concrete action steps in place, so this doesn't just become another one of those feel-good moments, but an opportunity to actually make a change in your life and business, because all good things come in action. So we'll see you over there at dreamlifeisreallife.com/show, and next week here on the show.